All right. So you had a point that
Yeah.
you wanted to come up with, right?
Well, yeah, I was just I was ending it on the like, are we at the end of the republic?
Right.
And
Right.
and so I think we've kind of come to the terms that yeah, we're at the end of the republic almost. If not, we're in an oligarchy thing. I think all of that kind of stems from I don't know if you've seen the Twitter files. They were a pretty big deal. Basically, for those who haven't heard, if you haven't heard right now, you must live under a rock. That Elon Musk is kind of giving information after he bought Twitter to some journalists, and they're showing people what was going on before Elon Musk bought
Right.
Twitter. And the gist of it is that they were censoring people based on political ideology.
Well, the
They were
FBI was the FBI and
yeah, yeah, of
CIA
course,
were actively telling these companies to
telling them,
censor certain stories because they were Russian disinformation. Now
which is crazy to me.
that first of all is undoubtedly election meddling. First of all,
Yeah.
based on polls that say that if people knew about the Joe Biden story, which is that is the number one story that was censored, that the FBI told Meta, told Twitter, told all of these companies to censor based on
Well,
Russian
Zuckerberg was on
disinformation.
Joe Rogan and he said
He
that.
said it
So
explicitly.
it's no
Said it.
shock to me.
It didn't even hide it. Just explicitly said it. I'm surprised he
Yeah.
said it. Regardless, now we're
I
finding
get
out
that.
the receipts. Like Elon Musk is bringing out the receipts that they were of them actually censoring specific people based on political ideology, not even based on you know community standards, not based on the company's policy, not based on anything, just purely based on ideology. Secondly,
Well,
hang
let me touch on that quick. Keep your
Okay.
second one in mind there, because I think it's weird that conservatives or libertarian conservatives will just they have to wait for the receipts for some point. Because when I argue with people, specifically leftists, they're like, do you really think that the government would try to censor you, or do you really think the government would try to give you a bad vaccine or this or that? I'm like, what the hell makes you think that they wouldn't? What makes you think that the government needs to tell you the truth? What makes you believe that the government is telling you the truth? Think for yourself for one moment. And if you can't see through the lies immediately, then there's a problem with that. Because
Well,
I can't. My
so
head's gonna explode.
conservatives and libertarians don't need the receipts. The people that need the receipts are the leftists, the left leaning liberals, the Democrats, the establishment left, the establishment
Well,
right.
I
Those are the
like the
people that
receipts. It's
need the receipts to believe it because they're so indoctrinated, they are so brainwashed,
they
they are so deep into the matrix that they need a slap in the face. They need solid evidence that this stuff is going on. They cannot believe it, and they don't even believe it when it comes out.
There you
Liber-
go. That's what
but
the problem is that
but
they don't believe it when it
conservatives
comes out
conservatives
because
and libertarians had their doubts the entire time. This just proves their point. The
because well,
only people that it's gonna convince otherwise for the receipts is anyone caught in the matrix, caught in the establishment that believes everything that they're told, that doesn't believe
I
that
think
that
the
thinks
only
that they can
people
trust everyone, that thinks they can trust the government, that thinks they can trust establishment, anything.
yeah, I think the only people that really benefited from the receipts coming out were the people that were like 70% of the way there, that were like, I believe it. I believe that the CIA assassinated Kennedy, but I need some pure rock solid
Well,
evidence
right.
before I
That's
believe
my
it.
second point. Is not only were these receipts coming out of Twitter showing that explicitly showing that the government has its hand in censoring speech. That's the first point. The
No.
second point is not after this came out, Tucker Carlson came out with an entire piece with the Kennedy assassination with documents that came out about the CIA that proves that they had some sort of role in the assassination of Kennedy, right? But the problem with that is the only information they let out, the only documents they let out was a 4-page document, right? But two of the
Yeah, it was
pages were
nothing.
almost completely missing. They were
They
redacted.
do that. Yeah, of course. They can't help themselves.
But with all of this combined, how can anyone at all have any trust in our government? Ever?
That's what
Anyone?
I was talking to some elders of mine. about 80 years old, and I was actually sitting down and I was watching the Tucker Carlson segment. I believe it was on December 15th, where Tucker talked about. I don't watch Tucker. I like Tucker. I respect Tucker, but I happened to be watching them because I was with them at their residence, and they like Tucker, so they were watching Tucker. And Tucker was talking about the CIA files, and they were listening to Tucker. And Tucker, Tucker's actually not as right wing as Tucker's a skeptic. Tucker never actually gets down and says things dirty. Tucker never says things down and dirty. Tucker never says this is what it is. Me, I was sitting there. I was like, yeah, the CIA assassinated JFK, and they were like, what? I was like, I actually don't even know it to be true, but like 80% of the evidence points that way. Like the fact that you guys think I'm crazy for believing that makes me think that you're just naive to a certain degree. And you're 80. Like you were there when you watched it happen live. But you actually believe that a man climbed into a tower and shot the guy and nobody stopped him? You believe that? That's crazier than me believing the CIA did it. In my opinion.
The first point is the people that believe that the government had no part of Kennedy's assassination also believe that there was only one shooter. He was shot from 3 different angles, and they believe that
he was shot twice on video.
And the person the person in front of him got hit with a stray bullet too from a third bullet. But regardless, those people that were alive back in that time only had one media source, and that was the TV, right? So more people were indoctrinated, I think, back then than are now. And that lends to my point of why I think the internet is a good thing, because I think there's more people that have access to the information that we're talking about that otherwise wouldn't either not have looked for it or not have seen it. And the fact that politics is so mainstream now, it also helps more lazy, not necessarily dumb, because dumb people they're not gonna believe it regardless, even if they get slapped in the face, with the facts, they're not gonna believe it. But the lazy people that don't really have an opinion on it either way, that may not care, that may just don't want to be a part of it. The politics has become so mainstream, right, that people, regardless on social media, see it one way or the other. No matter what, they're gonna see the politics from one aspect or the other, and it's going to be shoved in their face, because that's just how mainstream all politics have become.
Yeah, to a certain degree, I agree, because a lot of conservatives bring that up too. Like, I'll be listening to Michael Knowles or something, and they'll talk about how they're glad that the internet's kind of opened up the fact that Michael Knowles can have a show, or Matt Welsh can have a show, or the Daily Wire can exist,
and you don't have to rely on big,
Walter
corporations
Cronkite
funding it. You can rely on yourself. You can, like, we're doing this. This could have never happened 50 years ago. This would have never.
You don't have to just sit down and believe that Walter Cronkite's correct, because how many Americans
he was never a journalist, but there's people that still to this day think that he was a good journalist.
Yeah, but I don't know. But like the thing that worries me the most is, and maybe this is the actual libertarian in me, or the freedom loving conservative in me, that says, it's crazy to me, because if I log on to Instagram and I see a COVID post, or Twitter or Facebook, I see a COVID post, there's the link to the CDC there.
Right.
And I'm like, you guys have outstretched or outstayed your payment here. Like, there's nobody. I want to believe that there's nobody out there that still clicks on those links and believes the CDC. But then I also work in healthcare, so I see that, and I work in healthcare where masks are not mandated. I for our listeners, I'm in pharmacy school, and I'm going to be a doctor of pharmacy in May. There are people that, and I just work regular retail pharmacy. I'm not some life-saving person. I don't need praise. I'm not giving you my credentials. I'm just letting you know. I work. Thank you for the slow clap, Dylan. The soft clap there. The healthcare field is destroyed. It's gone. It is gone. There are still people. I was at work on Friday, the day before New Year's Eve. So I was there on the 30th of December, 2022. 50% of my customers in suburban New York, is what I'll call it, were wearing masks. New York is a hellscape, man. They're all wearing masks. It's what are you doing? Healthcare is ruined, because even to this day, if somebody asks me about my stance on birth control, I can't tell them my stance on birth control, because birth control causes increases your risk for cancer, bone density loss, mood swings, skin breakouts, sleep disorders, weight gain. But if I say that, people think that I'm just a pro-life conservative, and my stance on birth control has nothing to do with pro-life at all, because it prevents fertilization from ever happening.
Right.
Now, like when you ask me my stance on things like Plan B or the 5 day things, those ones are a little dicey because I believe that life begins at conception. But the birth control one, if I just say the side effects, you may get cancer 10 years down the line. People, they go nuts. They go nuts. So the healthcare, and that's just one example out of all of them. So like it's the misinformation warnings that drive people nuts. But I'll wrap that point up right there for you.
Yeah, let's take a break.